dark, solid state and true timber, as well as
It's noticeable to me that when I use a 4K mouse, it just feels more responsive.
you can go as fast as you can without trying to go on. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. I've just returned from a trip to Singapore earlier this morning, on the day I'm recording this video. All I can say is, it was an amazing experience, especially for myself who is heavily into audio, and anyone that watches these IEM reviews will probably want to visit Singapore as well. So what better than to record an audio review after a big audio journey? Today, we're here to look at the UniqueMelody Mest Mark III, the successor to the legendary Mest Mark II, which I've also reviewed a while ago. UniqueMelody requires no further introduction. They're a very established Chinese high-end audio brand with many successful launches, many different model series, and on a side note, I do think the Mest series is by far their best in both sonics and value. You can't change my mind. Now moving into details, features, and unboxing. The Mest 3 comes in a UniqueMelody cardboard box. I believe a new unit of this would also be shrink wrapped around the outside. Now the box itself is quite minimalistic with only a UniqueMelody branding on the top and on the back side here. The whole thing feels very high quality. Now opening the lid up, you are greeted with an Albert Einstein quote, which reads, "The distinction between the past, present, and future is only a stubbornly persistent illusion." Now, as for why there is just a random Einstein quote in there, I do not know. If I had to guess, it has to do with how Chinese companies like to add class to their products by introducing random quotes and words from foreign languages and cultures. Now, this concept might be a bit difficult for those of you to understand that aren't from an Asian background, but it's really just a Chinese thing. Think back to the SimGot EA500 video I did, which also just had random quotes and things on the box. There is also a matte black ownership card within this little envelope presented here. It says UniqueMelody on the front, and on the back you're greeted with all the details regarding the unit. Serial number, manufacturing time, warranty claims, socials, and all of that. Now finally reaching into the rest of the package, you're greeted with a UniqueMelody leather cable clip, some UniqueMelody ear tips, microfiber cloth, and a case where the actual IEM and cable would be. There also is actually a dust pouch that the item comes in. Now one thing to note is that the Mest Mark III comes in two colors, blue and red. Here we do have the red tour unit. Now the red is also slightly more expensive from memory, but I do believe this is a purely cosmetic difference. So here you are, you guys can have a look at that. However, despite this unit being red, it seems that all the accessories still come in blue. So I'm not sure if there was a mix-up in the sense that we got wrong packaging, or if there is only one packaging color, but you'll just have to know that the cable and the IEM itself comes in red or blue. Now speaking of the stock cable, this is where we get into the first discussion point in this video. The stock Mest cable comes from Peter Wong Audio, shortened to PWA or PW Audio, and it's made for the Mest 3. However, this cable is absolutely horrendous from a physical standpoint. There have been many reports online regarding the cable being absolutely terrible in terms of ergonomics, and I can agree. The cable is sleeved and thick from the connector here up to the splitter. As you can see, I am already having problems with this ergonomic. And now beyond the splitter, it does turn into thin wire. Now usually, I'm an enjoyer of thick and weighty cables, so the Mest stock cable here does satisfy it for the most part. However, the area from the connector up to the Y splitter is a flat cable. Now why is this an issue? It means that this cable will only curl and roll in a specific direction, and therefore if any curling occurs during use of the cable, you can't just undo the loops without physically moving the entire cable and to rotate it. You see these loops that keep coming? You can't just easily undo those. In addition, it is super stiff, and at this point I also believe that the flat entry into the connector here is what causes these cables to break so easily. Yes, they break. These cables break and stop working. Now as you guys can see, I have two cables here. The stock red one that came with our red unit, and also a blue one given to us for free by another Mest 3 owner within Australia. To continue the tour, guess what? Both are broken. And by broken, I mean the cable now has channel imbalance between left and right. So one side is louder than the other. Or sometimes one side entirely dies. And the only way to get the cable working is to put it on some weird angle. Similar to how your phone charging cables can die and the phone only charges when the cable is on a specific angle, especially with Apple Lightning cables, I'm sure you guys will know what I mean. I'm guessing the wiring inside is breaking due to the cable being flat, and therefore the wire is only supposed to bend in 2 directions. Therefore any stress, whether intentional or not, this way is going to cause internal wiring to have issues. Now the fact that we have had 2 Mest 3 cables just break like this is a huge disappointment. If you plan to get one of these, do yourself a favor, just buy a different cable please. Now, I can't believe I've spoken so much already without even going into the IEM, but the IEM itself features a 5-way crossover, and it has 1 dynamic driver for bass, 4 BA for mids and treble, 4 EST for ultra high treble, and lastly, a UniqueMelody full range bone conduction driver. Now, if you don't know what a bone conduction driver is, please check out the Mest 2 video. Aesthetically, the IEM looks beautiful. I am a huge fan, right? They look absolutely stunning in person, like jewelry. The fit is also very good. It's pretty light. I have yet to meet anyone that has problems putting these into their ears. The sizing is good. And there is also driver flex, but that's just the average UniqueMelody experience. Finally, into sonics. The UniqueMelody Mest 3, in my opinion, is far better than the Mest 2, which will be our main point of comparison. It pretty much fixed most of the complaints I had with Mest 2. The Mest 3 is warmer neutral with bass boost IEM and relaxed upper mids, yet it has great detail and excellency across the board regarding technical capabilities. It is designed for all-day smooth and relaxed listening. It's not fatiguing at all, and it retains that Mest family's signature large and holographic soundstaging. So it's a truly phenomenal IEM. Now, one thing to note is that the bone conduction drivers do not show up on the frequency response graphs, so take the graphs with a grain of salt and just know that the upper mids do not actually sound the way they graph because of the BCD. Now, starting with bass as usual, the Mest 3 has excellent bass. If you watched my Mest 2 video, you know that bass is actually what I think the biggest standout feature of the Mest 2 was, which is surprising because the Mest is never really talked about in this regard. The Mest 3 here further improves on the bass when compared to the Mest 2. It feels more impactful in the mid bass, as well as more rumbly in the sub bass. The bass on the Mest 3 really reaches deep, rumbles hard, great quality and texture, and mid bass also slaps with visceral impact. So it's not a bass set IEM, but I think the bass quantity on the Mest 3 is just maybe one of the best in existence of any IEM. It's never overpowering, never too weak, always the right quantity, especially when compared with the rest of the frequency range. And it's important to note that focusing on one aspect of the sound is actually quite difficult because it's all about balance. And that's why despite the Mest 3 graphing with less bass in the Mest 2, it actually feels the other way around because you don't have as much treble giving you fatigue. Now that's all for the bass, it's just simply excellent. Moving into mids. The Mest 3 sounds warmer than the Mest 2. Now personally, I love the warmth on the Mest 3. It's not actually warm, it's just warmer than the Mest 2, but that's also because the Mest 2 was actually too lean and thin. A major complaint on the Mest 2 I had was that mids, and it sounded hollow with no weight, heavily recessed, and the Mest 3 here almost completely fixes that. Now the keyword's almost, because notes actually sound very solid, has weight and body, as well as definition, especially in the lower mids, which now sound far more natural. The upper mids is where the Mest 3 still retains that Mest family's signature tonality, where vocals aren't ever forward and prominent. I won't say it lacks in presence, but it will never be at the forefront of a mix, and it's usually in the same distance as instruments would feel to you. You don't have the instruments in the background, the person being really far forward in your face, it kind of just blends into the mix. Now, in addition, the Mest DNA of holographic presentation is retained, despite having that more body and weight to the mids. So that's a phenomenal experience. Overall, instrumentals and vocals, where the vocal itself isn't the focus, will sound fantastic, but if you really want vocal emphasis, maybe this isn't the way to go. Now lastly, into treble. The Mest 3 has more relaxed treble relative to the Mest 2. It's far less fatiguing, sharp, glary, and gives you no pain. You really have to crank the volume up, right? You have to turn it up pretty loud to hear the treble being fatiguing. But at that point, the entire frequency range is just too loud and you're probably not having safe listening conditions. The treble in the Mest 3 feels really well done. It's not the best there is, but it also doesn't have that common issue with poorly implemented electrostat drivers where you can hear the EST being grainy and edgy. Percussion rendering is great, harmonics are great, the entirety of the treble just remains inoffensive and easy to palate. In no way will this ever be a problem. Now for the technical side of things, resolution on Mest 3 feels phenomenal. Compared to the Mest 2, there is quite an improvement in resolution due to that mid-range change. The resolution on the Mest 2 felt a bit fake and pushed because of the holographic mid-range. so mid-range resolution is actually quite poor. The actual resolution comes from the treble spike, and in the case of the Mest 3, far more detail is audible across the entire frequency range. So I really have no hesitation to say the Mest 3 is crazy good in this department compared to many in its competing price range or even above. Separation is excellent and kind of tied in with resolution. The huge soundstage and holographic presentation of the Mest really gives instruments space to breathe. So it allows for great separation of sounds to work with the high resolution, providing an all-round big yet full detailed experience. Once again, sound staging is phenomenal. This is the Mest family IEM. I wouldn't hesitate to call the Mest 3 as one of the most spacious sounding IEMs there are at any price range. It truly does magic in this department. Now, as for what I think is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, Annihilator. It is simply impressive how they managed to do this and retain the Mest characteristic despite having made the IEM more full and warm sounding, because generally, leaner and thinner sounding IEMs with those mid-range dips and such can create a more perceived sense of space. This, however, has that space without needing to do that tuning trick as much. Now, speed and dynamics also need a little mentioning. They're excellent. Positional audio and gaming gets a little bit tricky, because with the way Mest 3 presents sounds, that holographic staging, it initially bothered me a little when playing games, in the sense that my sense of depth is distorted. That holographic presentation kind of made spacing a bit weird. But after a short while of adjusting, it sounds just fine, and I mean, anything at this price range, any high-end IEM you can play games fine on. Now, as for comparisons, the main comparison was to the Mest 2, and I've kind of done that throughout the video, and in summary, I just think the Mest 3 is an all-round upgrade to the Mest 2 in pretty much every possible department, or at least for what I enjoy. I will say though, there are definitely people I've met who prefer Mest 2 over Mest 3, which is fine. Now, if you have any specific comparisons you'd like to hear my thoughts on, join the Discord or leave a comment for me to answer, but that brings us to the end of the video. So once again, shout out to Damien and UniqueMelody for providing us with this toy unit to try. I am extremely pleased with how the Mest 3 has turned out. I've pretty much nothing negative at all to say regarding the sonics. The cable, on the other hand, is a different story. Now, this is an IEM that works for any genre, any music type, any listening volume, and it should remain inoffensive in every possible way. If you want an upgrade of some sort from your cheaper IEMs, and you want a guaranteed safe blind buy, this is the one. If anything, I think the Mest 3 is probably the single best IEM under $2,000 period. In addition to that, I'm sure if you talk to your local dealers, you can probably get this for a discount, which makes it even cheaper. I do also know that Music Tech was selling Mest 3s without the cable after so many people complained about it, so that could be a way to go. As for everyone else, YouTube, do your thing. This is the real deal. See you guys in the next one.